From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not for Friday, November 14th. A record-setting day. Impossible. We have that in our forecast. Temperatures reaching the 70s in many locations, setting records for today. We do cool as we get into this weekend, though. We cool probably to the 50s, a couple of low 60s for tomorrow. Same thing on Sunday, and those numbers are still above average, as the climate average highs middle to upper 40s today, depending on where you are in KELOLAND. And then we still think that things will become active as we go through the second half of November. And we'll also take a look at what to expect for Thanksgiving, what the models are showing us. Models are showing us warm air for today. Here's Futurecast. The thing that we'll have to watch closely, I would say the cloud cover, because here we are mid-November. Not much energy behind that sun. So we need mostly sunny skies, a nice south to southwest wind. Southwest wind would be best. That's a nice warming wind. It's usually drier with that southwest wind too. So that helps us warm. So depending on how much cloud cover we see will really play a role in how many of us hit these record highs when we are forecasting numbers in the 70s. See that cold front? That will swing through this evening and tonight. Already generating a couple of light rain showers, western into northern South Dakota. They'll continue to move to the east and to the southeast for the overnight. And I stop it here at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning just to show you that we can still have a couple of lingering showers, very, very light in southeastern South Dakota, Iowa, and even into Minnesota. Those will move through. The afternoon is looking dry. I mentioned it's a little cooler, highs in the 50s to near 60 degrees. And then we'll go with another day with above average temperatures for Sunday. And then things do start to change by the time we do get into early next week, with that increasing chance that we do have at seeing rain. Forecast today, afternoon highs in the 60s, 70s. There's a chance that some of us may hit the 80s. We have Valentine coming in at 81, 78 in Rapid City, 79 in Yankton. And our forecast tonight, aside from a stray shower or two, expect partly cloudy skies. Temperatures falling to the low to middle 40s. We'll have a couple of 30s in north central and northeastern South Dakota. Coming up, we'll be joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens, and we'll start with these record high temperatures for today. Stay with us. We have plenty to talk about on this latest edition of Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. I'm joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens now. And Brian, we are setting records today, aren't we?
We are. And just as we kind of surmised that we'd have a chance of getting a couple of 70s, well, that story kind of took off here. And now we've got an expansion of 70s for today, including Sioux Falls, projected high at 72. And I haven't heard too many complaints about that today.
No, I don't think many people will.
No? Oh! Is that happening now?
Well, we're not setting the records yet. Okay? Just give it a while, and we'll try to bring these temperatures into the 70s. Here is that forecast. 72, you mentioned that, Brian, in Sioux Falls. Not that far to the west, to the south. Look at those numbers. 78 Mitchell, 79 in Yankton, Lake Andes at 80.
Yeah. So is there a difference between record-breaking and record-shattering?
Well, the sound effect sounded like it was shattering.
It did. So in Sioux Falls, we're 1 degree above the record, so it's broken. That's true. But, Yankton, 79. I think the existing is 76.
And we'll take a look at those numbers.
Yeah, so it's pretty impressive. But, yeah, classic setup, southwest wind. We're right ahead of a cold front, compressional warming, a lot of things we talk about in meteorology that aid these scenarios in the fall especially, but, other times of year too. But, for November to get this last hurrah of 70s.
Last hurrah of 70s. And then we were talking about this in our morning meeting too. Well, even though we cool tomorrow to the 50s, I did the math, 14 degrees cooler, but that's still coming in as 12 degrees above the average. We're forecasting 58 in Sioux Falls.
Pretty respectable, isn't it?
That's something.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting way to view all of this. Plus, coming off the fact that it was so cold last weekend.
Oh, and the snow.
I was 24.
We know about that.
Yeah. It was just 24 degrees for a high on Sunday. Now we'll end the week here at that 72 in Sioux Falls.
So here's a look at the existing records for today. You mentioned that 71 in Sioux Falls. You're right. The Yankton's at 76. Now, I circled the ones that can either tie or set records. Aberdeen will be close. Our forecast is 66 in Aberdeen. Record high temperature is 68. Either tie or set a record in Mobridge and Siston. So you do see those records around Aberdeen. I would not be surprised if maybe we get a little bit warmer than 66 in Aberdeen. So we'll have to keep our eyes on those numbers in northeastern South Dakota. Winter, well, that's a different story, 84. But we do have some 80s in the forecast. Let's go ahead and show that forecast again for today. Rosebud, 80. We have 77 going for winter. 81 in Valentine, close to 80 Rapid City, and in Pine Ridge. So, Brian, I would say at least, close to 80. There's a chance that we'll see a couple of 80s out there.
I think so, too.
But will we hit that record high of 80 for winter, 84 for winter?
Yeah, maybe a little tough.
We'll see.
We've been here long enough, Scott, that I've seen days where, it'll just something will start to take off, a little more mixing. Maybe the wind plays a role. By the way, the wind is a story today, and it actually feeds into maybe the more detrimental part of this story. And I know we wanted to talk. So
there is a price that you may have to pay for this, and that price is the possibility of, unfortunately, we have to talk about fire.
Yeah. There is a fire weather warning, red flag warning, same interchangeable terms there, and that does cover much of the south central and the southwest today. Grassland fire danger index, even up to Sioux Falls, is on the high side. So be alert to that. Just use common sense. This is just goes with the territory when we're going to be this warm and we've got those dry fuels out there. Doesn't take much to cause a grass fire. We've had a couple of grass fires around this area anyway in November. Mm-hmm. I know earlier in the month we had one here just on the west edge of Sioux Falls, and just things you got to be careful about. But hopefully we'll get through the day okay. And then one thing about the weekend, we cool it off, and then rain chance early next week.
There we go. That'll take us to our next segment of Becoming Active. Stay with us. You're watching this latest edition of Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. We'll go ahead and pot the music down and get right into it, Brian. Here's what you're working on your graphic system.
Yeah, so kind of wondering about this rain chance Monday, what that looks like. And here are some of the latest indicators on that as we watch the weekend and how this is changing. But at this point, 1/4 to 1/2 an inch of rain is a reasonable possibility, with showers entering in from Nebraska, coming up from the south. That's why you're seeing less precipitation in northern South Dakota at this time. But I always like to put the phrase, watching for northward movement. Let's see what changes position-wise on this. This will be kind of a good introduction to the week because we've got more upstream. It's just a matter of where and when. Some good questions to bring up. And I guess, that kind of calls out this map. Been showing this part of the week at least.
Oh,
Scott.
yeah. Been counting these systems moving through, not at the surface, but we're, more or less dividing the atmosphere in half, where we can pick up on these low-pressure systems in the mid-layers of the atmosphere, not necessarily transitioning down to the surface, but it's something that we do watch when we look at these longer-range forecast models because it gives us a good idea as to, yes, where some of these will eventually start to set up. And you've counted over the past couple of days as many as 5.
Yes.
At least in the area, we'll say.
Yep. And these are, again, looking for the last half of the month. So we're going to start here with our weekend forecast. And there's that upper level low. By the way, this is really pounding California with a lot of rain, evacuations. You've been hearing about that. It's a big upper level disturbance. And as it makes that trek across the Rockies, it is expected to be mainly a fairly progressive system. In other words, it's going to move along. There's not much to stop its progress. And when we get into Monday, obviously the upper level circulation would be right over South Dakota. and we anticipate that should lift the atmosphere, condense out the moisture, and we'll end up with some rain. Maybe a chance of a little snow at some point Monday night if there is lingering moisture. You can't ignore it because it's November, and if you're still getting something on radar at night, you got to watch that. But then number 2 system, right there it is. Now, notice that a couple things have changed from yesterday. First of all, this is coming out deeper, a little stronger, a little slower, too.
Okay.
So we got a low over Colorado on Wednesday. And by the way, this is going to really scoop up the moisture out ahead of it. If this projection continues to hold the way it is, you got a big deep low moving through Kansas, Missouri, and then eventually up toward Wisconsin. That's an interesting storm track, by the way.
I think yesterday, wasn't that a little bit farther west and north?
Yep.
Number 2.
It's digging.
Okay.
It's and as a result of that, obviously, it's a little more of it's grabbing a lot of moisture. At this time, that system, though, is still disconnected from cold air. Okay. So I just want to put that out there. That's a rainmaker. Now we're out to the end of next week, so we're getting into that, the extended forecast. There's system number 3. I kind of bounce around there. There it is right there in Arizona. Now, that seems to be a little more cut off this morning, but it's definitely there as a feature. And then the rest of this pivots to the northwest, and those are lows up in Canada or the Pacific Northwest. And that all hinges on unleashing some cold at some point.
About some colder air.
At some point. It's not written down yet. We do not have a lock on when that's going to occur. And, of course, that's a big deal because it's leading right into those days around Thanksgiving. But don't worry yet about that. I've been here long enough. You have too. We see these things brewing. I always get this is the one sticking point I really want to bring up is we see this, but there's been a lot of times where these things will brew and then they don't cut loose yet. This could get really delayed. I think you talked about that on the show this morning.
I do, and I think as we get into our Thanksgiving week or Thanksgiving Day segment, I'll bring that graphic back that kind of talks a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
But what we're showing here is, yes, we have a lot of systems that we will watch. It depends on where they go. It will be active. We're getting into an active travel period, Thanksgiving week.
That we are.
So
and
this will affect a lot of people.
It doesn't have to be just local weather either. No. I mean, if we end up with a lot of storms, other parts of the country, that's a big deal. So I think it's worth checking back in on this. We'll continue to revisit the subject next week, too.
And I do want to bring this up, too. This is the Storm Prediction Center's website as, they look across the nation and try to pinpoint areas that have the possibility for severe weather. Nothing showing up yet. And again, this is the extended day 4 through day 8. So we'll watch things. I would not be surprised to see this start to fill in if the way the models are and the storm systems move through, that we can have a couple of outbreaks of strong to severe weather to our south and to our southeast.
Yes.
We'll see if things do move to the north because sometimes they do. It's looking a good week out. That, of course, things do change. But we'll keep an eye on this website as well.
That's a good idea because it is the overall picture is very active and a lot of rain potential, too, in that warm sector. Some of those rain totals next week coming in from Missouri, Arkansas, several inches of rain. So it's going to be a big deal for the central and eastern Corn Belt. We just get to watch here. I could use a couple of inches of rain, Scott. I don't think my yard would be it would not be a detrimental thing. But
now you got a couple inches of snow.
I had good snow, and it did help a little bit, and every bit helps. But I know that the subsoil profile has really dried out. Tile lines haven't run around my area for a long time, so subsoil is really dry. So even for parts of Iowa, it's been dry at times. So let's see what this system does next week.
And you can see a lot of the heavier rains to our south and southeast. This is a European model taking us out 2 weeks. There's the heavy rain that you talked about too, Brian, into California.
Yeah, big deal this weekend. And that color purple, that's several inches of rain. I think we looked at the raw totals, like 4 to 6 inches of rain around the LA basin. And that's very bad news for those, especially with the fires and all the rest and the burned out land areas.
Yeah.
So Watching that.
As far as the snow goes, this is the European model putting a lot of that to our north into North Dakota. What's the American model thinking? Well, it does bring in some rain chances, of course, as we get into early next week. There's a lot of heavier rains there, again, to our south and to our southeast, as well as the western coast of the United States, leaving us here with a donut. But it all is a matter of placement as these storm systems move through. How much moisture can it latch onto? And it's still, I think this has been going, Brian, for 3 days, still trying to bring us some snow somewhere in KELOLAND around November 17th and 18th. And that lines up with the fog. I'll bring it again. I'll bring it up. That lines up with our fog theory in Aberdeen, maybe even Watertown. I'll have to check some of those other dates, too. We could even throw
and this is at the tail end of that system on Monday, where it tries to mix a little bit of snow in as the temperature falls during the overnight period is where that comes out in the forecast.
So very interesting as we do make our way into early next week. And then Thanksgiving week. That is something else that we'll have to watch. As you can see, filling in there again, November 27th and 28th. And need I mention that's a fog date too?
Yeah. Hey, you're on record. That's great. We'll see.
I have to bring that back probably next week. It's not in the outline for today, but we'll visit that again next week. And coming up in our next segment, we'll talk more about our Thanksgiving outlook. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. It's time to talk turkey. Time to talk Thanksgiving, Brian. What do you think?
Got the turkey sound effect there?
Oh, yes. Thank you. It's great that you remind me about that stuff. I have to find...
Which button is it?
Yeah, which button? Here it is.
Good.
Found another effect that I'm probably saving for some other time. That I have to... I probably could have used it today, How warm will we get to set these records? And then right before the forecast comes on. A little drum roll.
This is funny because on this program, of course, it's you and I here. You're running the buttons over there. Imagine if they gave us this power on television during the actual show. Yeah. You had your little buttons and you could just...
Oh, I think I've done that before. When we had fog... Hold on.
Were you able to do it on TV, though?
Well, I hit that button, and my microphone was close enough that it picked it up.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember a long time ago, this is a little off track, but I remember Jay Trobeck had a pheasant opener graphic. Do you remember that? Yeah. I remember the shotgun or something to do with the pheasant opener, and he wanted to have that sound effect on air. And we always talked about we should just open up the audio card to the graphic system, but might be a little... They kind of patrol that a little bit more with the audio upstairs.
Yeah, maybe you have to be careful going forward here.
I love your creativity, though.
Speaking of, Brian, I kind of have a surprise for you with this. I know you've been talking about warm Thanksgivings in winter. I'm just trying to jog your memory as to how warm those Thanksgivings have been and I think what year they've been too. So here we go. Here's the right graphic.
Okay.
Thanksgiving 2012 made it to 78. Oh, no, I don't have the pause point in there. That's okay. Here we go.
All right.
Here we go.
I bet that's the one where I was in winter and I remember that.
2012?
Yeah, okay. I'll bet it was. Yep.
Because they also had Black Friday here for 2017 and 2018. And these are actually records in winter for these days. 78 that Thanksgiving in 2012, and then 76 on Black Friday, 73 there on Black Friday in 2018. And I listed the dates, too, as to when those highs were hit.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, and it can be. Boy, Thanksgiving can be very warm some years. Some years, though, it'll be so cold outside. I remember here somewhere in the middle of all these years we're talking about, I remember getting the turkey ready, and I remember the steam and the water vapor hitting the condensation on the windows. Because you're cooking so much, you're creating all that steam in the kitchen.
Right.
And then Here, the temperature outside is 17 degrees. And then, of course, that lends itself, too, to cooling things off. I remember putting a pie outside once. Just
Right, and I was
up.
thinking the same thing. When it's that cool or cold, you can keep your cold stuff outside.
You could. Yeah, we've done it. Yep.
And not, keep everything in the kitchen, because some of these kitchens aren't that big.
Well, yeah,
Mine included.
that's the one day. I mean, if there was one holiday where you need a bigger kitchen, it's usually Thanksgiving.
It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you do what you got to do. And then weather this year, hopefully, well, we'll maybe talk about that for a minute or two here.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Now, this is the weather pattern. We look at the temperatures compared to average. Now, over the past couple of days, Brian, we've been showing this, and I would say 2 days ago, Wednesday, it showed decent, I would just call it a cold front, this colder air coming in from the northwest, bringing those temperatures below average for Thanksgiving. And I put the headline there, a cool Thanksgiving. Okay. And then the day after, it would have been Thursday. I said, okay, yeah, cool Thanksgiving. I could keep that. But you know what? I'll put cold air delayed but not denied, because it was not as aggressive as what it was showing on Wednesday. And lo and behold, look what happens today. Not as aggressive.
No.
So it's delaying things, but will it deny it?
It's a very typical thing. I'm glad that you started with that phrasing, because that at least gets our brains in the mode of, okay, we see what it is today, but we know that it's been delayed. So now tomorrow, of course, over the weekend, we'll see what the next changes will be. But the idea of colder weather coming in is definitely still alive and well. But it's just, so important too, isn't it? Because timing, people want to be able to travel, getting into Thanksgiving. We don't need to have a big temperature clash, because that would be the breeding grounds for stormy weather. If you have an Arctic intrusion at the wrong time, that's not good. So we want to keep that up there for now. That would be the best case scenario.
And we do have those storm tracks that we will continue to follow here in the Storm Center. So that plays a role in, our temperatures, if things, like you mentioned before, they slow down and strengthen, that will keep the warm air around a little bit longer. And then we'll see where that system comes out, where it goes into the central or maybe the northern plains. So we do have a lot going on over the next couple of weeks. I do want to thank you for your time on this latest edition of Weather or Not. Enjoy the rest of your day.